Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And even though where I am right now, it is rainy and a little dark, I got to tell you, wherever you are right now on the planet, this is going to send a ray of light your way, elevate your energy, and give you an opportunity to sit in on a conversation that some of the top elite people are having right now with this gentleman. I want to introduce you to my friend, Dave Austin. He is an international best-selling author and speaker. He's lectured at Harvard, the United Nations, and the US Pentagon. And he was raised actually by a Navy chaplain who stormed beaches during World War II without a gun and gave communion on his belly while machine guns fired overhead. This is his dad. He's inspired by his father's courage and faith and carries that forward in his work. He's the co-author of the international best-selling book, Be a Beast. Unleash your animal instincts for performance-driven results. And he's the founder of personal development company Extreme Focus. It's all about mental performance. Training methods are not only endorsed by so many of the top elite people out there, but also by the Pentagon, and the US Army uses his stuff, the Navy SEALs, but also NFL, MLB, PGA, Olympic athletes, Fortune 500 companies, CEOs. So all of you out there, you're going to fall into some of these buckets, and you're going to realize that in order to elevate yourself, you need to think less and allow your mind to operate at the highest level imaginable. And so we're going to get into this so that you can actually take away tips that you can use today from this elite performance coach. So Dave, welcome to today's show. So excited to have you here.
I am so honored to be with you because, I have read your book. I love what you stand for. So yeah, there's a connection here that I've been excited about this because, you and I have had this conversation about coming from the heart, not just coming from the head. And when you connect that in alignment, everything happens. So I see you being an example of that. So I'm honored to be here.
Well, and I appreciate so much that you said that you've read the book. And, the ReLaunch book has been something that has been percolating up for years, and it's finally out. And I'm super excited to share the 3HQ and the message within that everybody has the power source to be able to tap into their best version of themselves and manifest literally everything. But what I want to be able to share with the listeners out there is that your journey, and I've had the privilege of getting to know you and spending time with you, days with you, and just seeing what an exceptional human being you are. And I also have watched something that you're going to be talking about and sharing with us today, which is really the documentary of your life and what's come out of it. And it was one of the most empowering things I've watched in a very, very long time. But before we dive into that, for those that don't know you, I'd love to share this journey, because you, like me, we've had 20, 30, 40 relaunches in our life. And I honestly, yours are so amazing and significant. I'd love for you to share the highlights of those relaunches and how you've gotten to be this elite performance coach.
It's like you said, it's been a journey, right? And I always just allow myself, I'll just start right off being divinely guided as I go. But it has been a lot of different things. Who are you going to be when you grow up? Many different relaunches. So yes, I played professional tennis and I got a chance to see the whole world at a young age. I gained a world ranking. And when I came back from the professional tennis tour, I really wanted to all the mindset things that I had learned from a very early age, actually from my dad. That's all I wanted to do was really coach. But tennis gave me an opportunity to step into Hollywood, and I was able to be blessed to be in movies and television. I even I really got into music, and I had a hit, on the radio, which is crazy to, all these different aspects. And you see behind me, I've got the Presidential Merit Award from the Grammys, which that's all these are stories.
I love that you've been speaking for less than a minute, and we've learned that you are a professional tennis player, that you were an actor. And we're going to talk about, there's a story in there that I love with George Clooney. And then you also have gotten the Merit Award, but you also have had a hit song as well. And by the way, everyone, this is not even cracking like the first layer of what he's done. So I know that before you got into tennis, something very significant happened in your life. Could you share with us that relaunch as well, just to kind of set the stage?
That was probably the major relaunch. I'm glad you picked up on, and we know each other well enough. You're welcome here anytime. It was great having you here. It really was. But when I was in between my freshman and sophomore year in college, I got in a horrendous car accident. And I mean, I'll say it, took me years to say this, but I was literally killed in the accident. And I had that whole life, and I'm bringing it up, I had that whole out of body experience, and it changed my life forever. But I was at the time on a football and baseball scholarship in college, and it looked like I maybe would never walk again, let alone live. But I got through that, and took up tennis to kind of rehabilitate myself. Transferred to San Diego State and was a walk-on in tennis. And I always say that I lost my way to winning, and that's sometimes in your relaunch, right?
Lost my way to winning. But something that I do want to ask you about, you really thought football was going to be something that was going to take you into, quite a bit, a big career in it. You were very successful. You were very good at it. And can you share more about, this incident? You're in this car crash. Can you talk about what happened and this near-death experience, or it was a death experience in what you went through, and how you survived that? And then you said all of a sudden you're now a pro tennis player. There's more to this story, everyone, and I'm going to get to it.
The pro tennis didn't happen overnight. Like I said, I had to go down, and reinvent myself, as you know from your book, relaunch myself. I love the term. Football and baseball. I actually, I played shortstop in baseball. I was a quarterback in football. It was just, my dad was in the military, so we moved every 2 or 3 years. So I always had to reprove myself. I'm finally, the guy. And then, no, I got to go now be the guy again, some other place. And I think that just learned me. That's a good phrase. Taught me.
You're so excited about everything.
Taught me how to take on whatever it was and find a way through. So it started at a very early age. And so, when it happened at 19, I never told anybody that I actually left my body and looked down at my body and how insignificant the body was in the scope of eternity of life. And so I had a choice to make in this, I call it a divine white light, to say, hey, I'll make a commitment to go back and have impact. And I didn't tell anybody any of this. 19 years later, I finally told my wife. Now we've been together for 41 years, and she was the first one I finally told. Didn't even tell my family because I didn't want to believe it. I just felt like it was just too out there. And but it reshaped my life completely. And I think that's another area that, and I don't want everyone to have to go through a horrible car accident. I mean, I flew at 65 miles an hour up, flying with the car above me. I flew out of the car. And I didn't have a cape though, and landed, and then the car landed on top of me. The fact that I lived is remarkable in itself, but it was the launching pad, so to speak. Boy, talking about flying without a cape, and it's a launching pad.
Yeah, but you're using all my terms. This is a good thing. We're relaunching. We're on the launch pad. This is no doubt. We're on the same wave here, which is great. But I have this question. So you were launched from the car, you ended up coming out of this where, you you're all of a sudden alive, you're in the hospital. How long were you in the hospital for? And what what was your body like at that point?
So I don't know if I told you this. I mean, I don't know. I didn't know we were going this way, this direction. You like this stuff. So, so this happened on Fish Ranch Road above the Claremont Hotel in Berkeley. You know where that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was taken to the hospital there, and my dad was the chaplain at Oak Knoll Naval Hospital at the time, and they decided to move me because that's where all those getting injured, my age getting injured in Vietnam, losing limbs and all that, would be flown into Oak Knoll Naval Hospital. So they decided, okay, this is a serious thing. We're going to take you to the military hospital because my dad's the chaplain there. But in the ambulance on the way, I started praying to God. I said, yeah, I made a commitment to come back, but my legs are so important. My sports are so important to me. Can we make a kind of a deal here on this? And because the one hospital said, they said I was bleeding internally, I had a broken hip, and my legs were crushed, broken in many areas. By the time I got to the Oak Knoll, they brought me in. They couldn't find any broken bones, nothing. There's, and healing took place. This is why I don't talk about it, because
okay, I've never heard this part of it.
Oh,
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So your legs, when you woke up, you actually had full use of your legs.
No, I didn't have full use of my legs, but they weren't broken. They couldn't figure it out. And they were calling back and forth and going, wait, where's the guy that you sent us? Do we have the right guy? And my legs were all swollen because they're all beaten up really bad. But it wasn't until, and I had this feeling like if they put me under to do any kind of surgery, I wasn't coming back. I don't know why I felt that. I just felt that. So it wasn't until really they would just put me into rehabilitation for about 3 months. And finally, they decided they had to operate. And so they did. But I was ready for it then. I knew I could go ahead and live through an operation. But it ended up being where it was just loose bone that were under my kneecap that they were able to remove. And, I started to learn how to walk again. That's an interesting thing when you haven't walked in a while and then trying to learn how to do it. And then, it's all steps, right? And then I decided that tennis was an individual sport. And I just really wanted to go after it. My dad loved tennis. And I thought, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I transferred to San Diego State, total walk-on. This is crazy, a D1 college. But I had a belief. It's not true. And you saw that in Moonshot, that I had a belief.
We'll talk about Moonshot. We'll definitely talk about Moonshot for sure. But I want people to really think about this, that, here you've had this horrific accident. You were originally football, baseball, and now you're saying, wait a second, I think I want to do tennis. I'm going to walk on. And you ended up becoming a pro.
Yeah.
Okay. Incredible. So now you're on the circuit, and there's this amazing, and we're going to not go into Moonshot quite yet, because I want you to share what happened when you were on the circuit with music.
Oh, well, actually the music part, I love music and I love to write music. I wasn't very good at it, I'll be honest with you, but that's how you start in anything, right? And it was my way of, I remember being in Helsinki. I had played the Stockholm Open, then I'd gone over to Helsinki, and it was rainy, and I was out and I wrote one of my first songs. Terrible song, trust me. You got to start somewhere though. And music was my way of releasing the tension from the pro tour. And then one thing led to another. Because of tennis, I ran into, and he became one of my best friends, Phil Ehart, who was in the rock group Kansas. He was the founder of it, and I was a huge fan. Well, he was a fan of mine, I was a fan of his, and so this magic.
He's a fan of tennis, you're a fan of music. It worked out great.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then we thought, there's others probably like us. Let's bring the music world together and the tennis world together for a cause. But Kansas was big at the time, and it was one of these things that it said, we met with all the top record labels. And I go, well, you'll never do this because it's impossible. A musician would never donate their time for a cause. It just doesn't happen. And I remember walking out of that meeting in New York and looking at Phil and going, are we going to do this? And we kind of smile and go, oh yeah, we're going to do this, even though the world said it couldn't be done. we decided to put it on. We had one band, Kansas, they had one tennis pro. Well, we ended up getting all the top pros, and then all the acts of the day came because it was two friends and peers that were doing it, not, producers, and we're doing it for a cause. And it was amazing. Even, I won't get into moonshot, but you want me to tell the Queen story?
Well, no, what I really want to say is the world said it couldn't be done. And now if you're hearing this and you're thinking, well, wait a second, it can be done. People, this is happening a lot. Dave was at the forefront. This is before Live Aid. This is before any of these types of events where people go and they donate now their time and they're not paid. But at that point, nobody was doing that. Nobody. And so here, Dave, you and Phil had this idea. Let's bring people together. And it worked. It was a huge success.
It changed the course of the music world. I mean, anytime there's an issue nowadays in the world, what happens? Music comes together, and it's amazing. That's this little Presidential Merit Award from the Grammys came because we did that. And the Grammys wanted to start a foundation, the Grammy Foundation, which is Music Cares and Grammy in the Schools. And so they came to me and said, hey, will you put on a concert for us? And we're all like, well, you guys put on a pretty good concert. I've been to the Grammys. And they go, yeah, but we don't know how you do it. You don't pay anybody. We don't know how that is possible. I said, all right. So I did a few and kicked off something that is so amazing today out there. But like you said, Live Aid, we gave an example. It's like running the 4-minute mile. That's not possible until someone did it. Once that, person did it, then everyone could do it. I worked with an Army Ranger, a gal that a female can't become an Army Ranger. And there was a lot of press at the time going, well, that's not fair. Well, the truth is, it's just really hard. And this gal that I had the honor to work with was the first woman ever to make it through. And then after she made it, oh, that's possible. All these other women became Army Rangers. Someone has to take that step to go, well, it's only impossible because you haven't done it. Now it becomes possible. And so that's something that was really, I think, embedded in me. And so
everyone have no fear. You're going to get steps on what Dave does with the elite out there that are trying to do something that seems impossible and makes it possible. And I just want to say, when the world is saying to you right now, as you're listening to this, everyone, that you can't do that, it's not possible. I got to tell you, the guy I'm interviewing right now knows that anything is possible. So when I come back, we're going to hear about moonshots. We're going to hear about, again, we've only tapped the tip of the Dave life out there. And you're going to hear a lot more of these stories and get those tips to actually be able to incorporate this level of excellence, extraordinary from the ordinary, into your lives. So don't miss out. Come back soon. This episode is brought to you by my very own labor of love, my most recent book, ReLaunch. This book is a collection of my stories, other stories, and is a motivational guide to living a new 3HQ lifestyle, sparking your heart to ignite your life. It's available for purchase via Amazon. Get ready to try on the 3HQ method that I've been using for years throughout my entire life, reaching the next level in all areas, both professionally and personally. Get your copy today at www.therelaunchbook.com. Hey everyone, welcome back. I am here with Dave Austin, an elite performance coach. But wow, I would also, as we all know, I'm known as the ReLaunch Queen. I would say he should be known as the ReLaunch King. The things that he has been through that we just talked about, which was near-death experience, going from being a athlete on the field, playing football, baseball, to all of a sudden coming out of them saying, I want to play tennis, became a world athlete, pro tennis player, then starts to do some things that people would normally say are not possible. And he has proven time and time again how to do the impossible. And one of those was creating with his dear friend Phil from the band Kansas, a entire forum for having live music where people donate their times or their time and their songs, and tennis players coming and professional and putting it all together, which was really at the forefront of what we now have in terms of a lot of these events. So amazing to have you here, Dave. But I really want to go into, this is not where your journey ends. There's so much more relaunches, significant relaunches that came after this point. And I'd love for you to share a little bit more of those before we go into something very significant that's happening for you right now.
All right. Well, so after my pro tennis career, I got involved in real estate, and I had, ended up having 160 acres in Rancho Santa Fe, a beautiful place in Southern California. And then I had 26 acres on the coast with my family and with the development company that we, went for it. And then interest rates went to 22%. Don't know if you remember that, but it was really hard to do anything with it. And I had signed personal guarantees because, hey, everything I touched was golden, right? And all of a sudden, nothing worked. I'd literally lost everything. Mm. Everything I had done to that point, I lost it all. Everything.
And how old were you at this point?
30, about 35, I think,
So I just want to say, for those that are out there right now, so Dave, literally everything he touched had turned to gold, and interest rates going to 22. And I know we're all like, since interest rates are creeping up every single day in our own worlds now. But imagine, Dave has personally guaranteed all these things, and next thing you know, he's lost it all.
The interesting thing is, it was the best thing ever happened to me, because life is so much more about, what is success? What is true wealth? True wealth. I mean, if you don't put love into the equation, if you don't put heart and desire and passion in the equation, if it's only money, what do you really have? And so that
must have been really tough to think about when you're like rock bottom. I have no money. I don't know if you filed for bankruptcy. I don't know what happened, but you must have been like, okay, I do want to put love out there, but how do you do that?
Well, the truth is, it was hard. I mean, I'm not going to deny that it wasn't really challenging. I mean, I'm just looking now past, it's like I almost forget the challenges, but yeah, it was really challenging. Yeah. And I was like, where do I turn? What do I do? And it sounds funny, but I was playing in the Carl Reiner Pro Celebrity Tennis Tournament at La Costa around that time. And my tennis partner happened to be, the celebrity part happened to be Lynn Stallmaster, the number one casting person in all Hollywood. He discovered Dustin Hoffman. He put in the Robert Redford, you name it.
Dennis Quaid, I remember.
Dennis Quaid, you name it. And all of a sudden he goes, hey, I don't want to change your life. I think you can make it in this world. And I'm like, okay, I have my head hitting against the wall here, trying to make anything work. Boom, I'll be a starving actor. Fine. I'm in that place. I have nothing to lose at this point. So yeah, and poor Kathy, who I just met, who you now met, my wife, we've been together 41 years. She thinks she's, having this relationship with this very successful business guy. And all of a sudden, I've lost it all. But I think that's the key that I think was the best win of losing it all, is that then Kathy still wanted to date me. I'm like, why do you want to date me? I don't get it. I mean, you like me for me? I don't know if I like me for me, just down to the basics.
She saw who you really were.
Yeah,
she saw the energy. She saw that so clearly. It's so great.
So that was a big win from that. And, out of that, I have 4 wonderful boys that, who knows? Because at the time, not saying I was a bad person, but I had my head in the wrong place. This was a total wake-up call. And so then I had a chance to go up to LA and dive in. And I don't know how to do anything without diving in all the way. And now I know you're going to ask about George Clooney, I'm sure.
Only because he is absolutely one of my favorite actors. I have to. I mean, it's George Clooney, for goodness sake.
All right. So can I tell I know it's in Moonshots, and you're going to give her.
Yes, I want to hear. Give me.
I'm at the Beverly Hills Playhouse in the acting class, and George is, one of my teammates, so to speak, in this acting class. No one knows George. No one knows any of us. And some of those folks in that class have gone on to have become major, major stars. George probably being the biggest one, but we're doing a showcase. And I asked Kathy and my sister, come up, you got to see the showcase. I wanted her to see, all the stuff we were doing. I wanted to see me, but I thought George had something. I just thought he had magic. And so George and Tom Matthews do this scene together. And afterwards, I go to Kathy and my sister, Kathy and Kathleen. I go, hey, so what do you think of George Clooney? Isn't he special? And they go, who? George, oh, Tom Matthews. Oh, Tom. No, I'm going, no, you got the wrong guy. It's George it's going to go on, not Tom, George. But Tom was a really good looking guy, and they could see is him. And so it's funny today to know where that all went to. And, George obviously has had a tremendous career. Tom had a good career too, don't get me wrong. But I just thought it was so funny. They never even noticed George.
So what's really interesting is that this didn't just happen one time where you can identify somebody and know that they have magic, know that they have the it factor. Can you, before we go on, what is it about people that you have seen, because you worked with all of the elite, whether across every industry, I've already explained all that, but what do you think really sends you that, like, this person has it?
It's an inner confidence that you can't fake. There's something that says, I'm here, I'm me, accept me for who I am. We have so much, well, I'm not worthy, I'm not this or that. But then there's this whole level of really tapping into trusting who you are, loving who you are, and showing up who you are. And I think that's the difference. And that's what I look back, because I looked at A-Rod, and I have a funny story about A-Rod, one of our most famous baseball players out there, about how he had the it factor. And it's this inner confidence. And I've been blessed to be able to coach people how to attain that, so that, we so often let the world tell us who we are instead of telling the world who we are. And so when you get a chance to really tap in and learn and respect really who you are, not in a phony sense, which a lot of us have had really challenging, situations in our life. And we look at that as a weight. And if you can look at it as saying, what a gift, because it shaped me, how I move through that, I'm actually stronger because of it. Then you start showing up differently.
So do you believe that everybody has that it factor within them?
I do. I think that we let our minds get in the way. You in your book said it. I had a comment in my book that we have 65,000 thoughts. You said no, we have 62,000 thoughts. Whatever it is, it's a lot of thoughts, and we let our thoughts get in our way. We have so much judgment about ourselves, about others, that it blocks our greatest gifts. And when you start taking down the blocks, all of a sudden there's a beauty in your life that you never even saw before. And then you can take a look at really who you are and then own it. And then that's where the magic happens. Henry David Thoreau says something that is so powerful. He went to Walden Pond, and he took 2 years, 2 months, 2 days, 2 hours, a lot of twos in there. And he asked Emerson, who owned the property, if I could just build a 1-room cabin. I just want to be in nature. He wrote all his best works. And one of the greatest things he wrote was, if one walks confidently towards their dream and has the courage, well, they will come to an invisible barrier. And if they have the courage is the big one, to pass through that invisible barrier, there will be new universal laws available to them. Most stop when you hit the invisible wall. Jesus said, with the faith of a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. Very similar, but if you really think about it, what does that really mean? That means there's more to life than we allow ourselves to experience.
Oh, that is so good. And the root of courage is heart. Like, that core means heart, which I think is so incredible. So when you get to that place, and so many of us have this in business and in life, where we're pushing up what I call it, the comfort zone, right? You're pushing past it because that's the only way to expand, to get into that next level of where, however you're trying to kind of move up the chain, whether it's in your business or whether it's in something personally, you're going to hit the wall. There is that wall of what is comfortable for you that matches your belief system, right? And in order to move past that, in order to get to that next level of your identity, you got to get uncomfortable. You got to get past it because you're, as you said, what we are trained to do, and Thoreau so eloquently said it, is that we have this idea that we have to, it has to be so painful. It has to be like, oh, so many of these different, things coming at us. But really with the focus with like, I want to make this happen because this is who I'm supposed to be. This is my new identity. Then you can go through that. You break through it and you're like at this new level. And that's really, I think, your elite performance coaching. That's really what you get people to do, is uncover the confidence, uncover the courage. And you do it so well with, we talked about this docu-series, and I don't know if you're calling it that, but tell us about Moonshots. Tell us, why did you decide to create it and exactly what that is?
Well, it's an interesting conversation. Since we moved to Utah, we love having people over. We have a chef, and that way gave us the abilities to have friends over. We didn't do a lot of that because we've always been, both Kathy and I, very busy with things. And we thought, every Wednesday or Thursday night, we're going to have someone over, and we would tell stories at dinner. And our chef actually kept going, "Oh my God, you did that? Some people need to know that." And she would do it every week. It was so funny because whoever we were with, would just spark a conversation. And finally, my son, who is just brilliant at, internet marketing and videography. I mean, you've met him, what he's done for others.
Incredibly talented.
And he just says, "Dad, I think we need to do a docuseries on your life because I think people need to know all the different things." And so I wrote 30 stories and he picked the 10 he wanted. And then I have coached a producer and director who are coming out with the most amazing film. And so we brought their film crew in too. It's all about access to great people and then surround yourself in that, right? That's a whole nother story. But so we did this, and my son was the creator of it all. And it was so amazing to be able to do something with my son too, is just over the top. Mm-hmm. I mean, my family's number one in my life. And I think he just did such a fantastic job. And it's funny, my brother saw Moonshots recently. He goes, "Dave, I love it, but you left out the 2 best stories." I'm going, what are your 2 best stories? And in the 30 I wrote, I didn't even write those 2. I go, "Oh my gosh, I forgot that." When Pete Sampras gave me the racket that he won the US Open with, the youngest player ever. And it's a funny story how we auctioned it off and we only got $300. And then years later, I went and took it and then said, "No, I need that racket back." And then we auctioned it off for $50,000. I mean, I didn't tell that story, but it's that story, there's a lot more to it. But anyway, that's how it got created. And I am really
So you do something so interesting, and your son did such a great job with. You created, and you've had multiple books, and millions of people have read them, and they're just incredible. But you had a philosophy on animals and how you coach people, even at the Olympic level, at the highest level of performance, and you share animal and what they stand for. Can you give us an example of that?
Absolutely, because I believe, and in the program, there's 37 different animals we use. And Roger Anthony, who was my partner, is really the master behind it. And unfortunately, he passed away even before the Be a Beast book came out. But I feel like he's working it because it became an international seller overnight. How does that happen? We're going, "Okay, Roger, I know that's the only way it could happen." But we all have these wonderful, beautiful instincts within us, but our minds stop us from it. And so when you start learning what's really true, is we teach each animal. So it's a quick trigger because we overthink things too much, but we trigger ourselves back into right action. So here's an example: the crocodile, and that's in Moonshots in one of the stories I tell. But what is it about the crocodile? Well, they were here when the dinosaurs were here. They lived on the same land. They ate on the same, landscape. But dinosaurs I haven't seen lately. But crocodiles are thriving. How did they make it and dinosaurs didn't? Well, they became adapted to an ever-changing environment. They could relaunch over and over and over again. They got to use your book terms in here, but it's really what it's about. So when there was no food, they were able to take their heartbeats down to 3 to 4 beats per minute and just go into a rest state. So when all the other animals were starving and dying, they remained through it. Then when the great freeze came, they grew their skin so thick that their inner workings were still warm. And then, they are able to have goggles that come down from an eyelid above their eyelid, and they have goggles that can see in murky water. I mean, that's amazing. And if we think in terms of how we need to adapt in an ever-changing environment, it opens our eyes to possibilities. So we call the crocodile RESPA, RESPA. The first thing in any situation is first R, relax. If you take a breath, you ever see when kids, when they're not, we do the same thing as adults. When we're uptight, we breathe shallowly, but if you take a very healthy deep breath, it changes everything in that moment. So R is first relax. And then the E is now I can evaluate it without having my emotions in the way, and I can see it for what it is. Then S, now I can strategize how I'm going to move past it. And P is then just take patience, evaluate it. And now A, I act boldly and I'm strong in how I move forward. And how long should RESPA last? Well, with baseball hitters, they got 98-mile-an-hour fastballs coming at them. They got a RESPA like this. But sometimes, like if I have something that I get an email I don't like or something I'm dealing with, I don't just panically move into it. I RESPA, and that RESPA could be 24 hours. It could be a week even. But then I'm coming from a place that the emotion's not blocking me from a very clarity is strength, fogginess is weakness. So I'm very clear on my response. And then I can boldly stand behind it.
Oh, clarity is strength is so true. And weakness is fogginess. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you start to talk about RESPA and you start to talk about how you incorporate these animals in, it allows us to have this framework, much like 3HQ, right? Where you're like, I got this because I know what I need to do. So in your coaching, when you're coaching these elite athletes, are you coaching them on all 37 of the animals, or do you pick like, hey, these are your top 3 to 5 that I think really come up for you quite a bit?
Everyone's an individual. I don't have a cookie cutter approach. I know in the moment, because when I'm coaching, I just allow a greater voice to come through me. And at this moment, it's like, you mentioned courage. Well, courage is not the absence of fear. We all have fear. It's how you deal with fear. So the animal for that is core. COUR, short for courage, is the lion. The lion is the king of the jungle, knows who it is, owns who it is, might even have fear, but doesn't, it moves through it, right? So I don't program it unless sometimes in the off season I'll go through step by step, because that's the time we can kind of dive deep. During the season, most of the time we're doing what you know about is game readies. And then all of a sudden an animal shows up that just shows up at the right time. I had a pitcher pitching for the Boston Red Sox, when they won the World Series. And he goes, man, I feel so good because I take the whole zoo with me to the mound.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about being game ready. And I have one image of the cartoon where the lion is looking in and the crocodiles, there's multiple crocodiles, but the lion is roaring so loud that he doesn't realize. Did you show me this one? Because
yes. In Moonshots, we have the video of the lion. It's not a cartoon. The lion walking up and there's 3 alligators snapping at him. I mean,
alligators, yeah.
Roast him. But he's like, wait a minute, you don't know who I am, do you? And they're like, And then he keeps walking towards them. And they're going like, wait, what are you doing? Don't you know? He goes, and he roars. And they go, we're getting out of here.
I love that. Well, when we come back, everyone, we are going to give you what people pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. We are going to get coached by the man himself and learn what he provides his clients. So don't miss this out. We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by my very own labor of love, my most recent book, ReLaunch. This book is a collection of my stories, other stories, and is a motivational guide to living a new 3HQ lifestyle, sparking your heart to ignite your life. It's available for purchase via Amazon. Get ready to try on the 3HQ method that I've been using for years throughout my entire life, reaching the next level in all areas, both professionally and personally. Get your copy today at www.therelaunchbook.com. Hey everyone, welcome back. I've got Dave Austin, and we are about to dive into what do you get when you work with an elite performance coach. And we're talking the highest level. We're Olympians and some of the top people in all sports and the highest level CEOs. Don't you want to know, like, what does he do in these sessions? Well, if you haven't listened to the last 2 segments we did, go back, because this guy, his journey has been an incredible one. There's books written. There's about to be this wonderful documentary on it. But right now, I want to dive into, give us, if I'm coming to you and I'm saying, all right, I want to be coached by this elite professional coach, what are some of the things you dive right into with your clients?
Well, I'm going to give you the greatest, one. I work with, I told you, my brother, who's an architect, and he's done amazing things all over the world. And someone asked him, so what is it that your brother does for you? He goes, well, he gives me a mental massage every week. I just love that image. I thought, well, no, I've never heard of that. But one of the things I want to share,
that's a good one.
Isn't that good? I thought that was pretty good. And we all need a mental massage every week. We have a masseuse that comes in every week. If I miss 1 week, I feel like, my body's out of whack. Well, your brain.
I'd say we need it every day. A mental massage. That sounds really good. That instead of, we talk about meditation, let's start calling it this mental massage. That's so good.
I love it. It just, really clears things up for me too. But I was on a plane with the U.S. Olympic team going to the World Cup in Scotland. This is about 20 some years ago. And I, on the plane, literally said, God, do you got anything? I want to have so much impact. I want to bring more value than I ever have before. And the Game Ready came to me in that flight. And the team had the best results in the history of their sport. I went, wow, okay, God, you're pretty good. And I'd love to give the Game Ready. You want me to share that with you?
Oh, please do. Everyone's like, all right, tell me what this is.
So one little bit before I go on, though, I came back, and a good friend of mine was the pitching coach for the Dodgers, Los Angeles Dodgers. And I called Jim Colburn and I said, Jim, you couldn't believe what just took place, at the World Cup. And he goes, can you come in and work with my pitchers? I went, yeah, well, I'll come in and give this new thing, the Game Ready. And then Jim Tracy, was the manager of the Dodgers at the time, goes, wait a minute, can you do that for the whole team? And then it just went crazy. And then a player I worked with who was stuck in AAA became the hottest hitter in baseball. And so it was like, oh my gosh. And so that's where I can talk boldly about it, because all I did was tap into something better than me. I tapped into an intelligence that I just let it flow. And that Game Ready has been my signature for 20 some years now. And Olympic champions, NFL stars, Major League Baseball stars. I do this before the game because think about it. Our business leaders, you're going into an important meeting. You want to be grounded. There's what we call the state of flow or the zone. When I was a professional tennis player, I'd be in this zone. And I don't know how I got there. I don't know how long it'll last, but everything slows down and everything seems so much easier. I thought there's got to be a way. And that's what was presented to me. So that's the Game Ready. So the first thing we do in the Game Ready is, we talked about those 60-some thousand. We'll keep arguing how many
6,250 thoughts a day. 85% of those are negative. So that's why this is so important. Game ready.
So, so I got to simplify, because whenever you're doing something, we get all these thoughts in the way, and our pressure or the emotions get in the way. So if we can simplify down to just, three intentions, three focus points, they're different from goals. We have goals, but we can't control our goals. Our three intentions is how we achieve our goals. So what can you have total control over?
Okay, that is so good. I'm going to make sure we say it again. You can't control the goal, but you can control your intention.
Yeah, that's how you create the opportunity to get your goals. You're really going inward to bring it to the outward. Too many people go from the outward and they skip the inward part of it. And that's where all the beauty is. So you have three intentions. Anything more than that would be a distraction. So we just really get into what are the three intentions you want to bring yourself in that mindset in this. So you're very focused in whatever you're going after. If it sells, one of the biggest ones would be connection. Rather than I got to make this sell, I want to connect to this person. I want to really get to know them. Then sales happen easy because now there's a alignment and a connection. Laspro, which is one of our animals, we have the falcon that goes over 245 miles an hour, and they're up in a plane and they throw this little white thing out, and that falcon hits it every single time. They time it over 245 miles an hour. How can it do that in the vastness? Because it's only focused on one thing. So a lot of my athletes and my executive clients go, okay, I need the Laspro, which is that extreme focus. Very, very focused.
I think we're all like raising our hand. I need a Laspro. No doubt. Okay, so the first thing we're doing though is three intentions. Really focus. And it could be a business meeting. What do you really want to get out of this? It could be a launch. It could be, any type of personal, whatever it is. So now we've got our intentions. And then what?
Well, then the magic of gratitude. Take a moment. So we get so worked out, but just think how awesome it is you're even doing this launch or whatever it is you're doing. When we come from gratitude and appreciation, the world changes for us. Because no matter what, we're not so caught up on it better be this, it better be that. I'm just so grateful. And grateful that I have prepared myself and I trust and I have faith in who I am. Tap into that and you're powerful. Gratitude's amazing. So I get them to really think about and really live and really feel a deep sense of gratitude.
I love that you're not telling them to feel the gratitude of what's going to happen, the outcome. You're talking about right then and there, being very present.
Exactly.
So good.
So then they close their eyes, and then I take them through a gate, can be any kind of gate. And then I had them step into nature because when I had my out of body experience, I connected with nature on a whole different level. It was like, this is God's presence everywhere. And it's such a gift that we just go right on by, but there's an energy there. And when you can appreciate and be in awe of nature, nature responds back and gives you back. It's a give and take. It gives you an energy. So I had them breathe deeply into what they're receiving here. And now they're feeling that calm strength come over them that gives them the power beyond their own to step into these intentions so fully. So then they move into the next gate, and they go through that gate, and then they're on the playing field, whether it's a playing field of life, your business presentation, your launch, your game, you're going for the gold. I've had Olympic records set right after this, where they're so shook and all this. When we watch it in television, like, oh, well, they're not shook. No, they're shook. We need to get control over those emotions and get it dialed in. That's where world, records are made. And so they see themselves living their intentions fully, and they feel what that feels like. So now if they have a distraction, it's like, no, not now. This is where I'm focused. And that's what it's what my companies call extreme focus. When I said clarity is strength and fogginess is weakness, this is getting really clear on the path you're taking. And then the whole world opens up to you. And it's that stepping through those invisible barriers, that new universal laws, or the faith of the mustard seed. I now can move a mountain, so to speak. And boom, championships and titles are won in whatever it is in life.
So in just reviewing it, setting that intention, it's really thinking about gratitude that you have at that exact moment. It's this concept of, whatever gate you create in your head and stepping into nature, because there's a huge element of energy in nature that you can tap into, something bigger than yourself. And then I love that you were talking about the playing field, which is really the visualization, like whatever you need to be in. It could be the business meeting that you're doing, the launch you're doing, or a sport you're playing. You actually put yourself there, visualize that. And then how do you wrap it all up?
All right. So now they're seeing that, right? And then they come back through the gate back into nature because they want to. This is this refreshing moment. I'm now reborn into this energy that's so powerful. And then I have them hear a creek running, and they come and they splash their face or drink from the water. And it's just so nourishing. In the Bible, Jesus said, drink from this water and you'll never thirst. That's where that came from, is that this is the water that gives you everything you need right now to step into it boldly. One of my players that I worked with that became an MVP in Major League Baseball, he said, someone asked him, what happened? How did you make your big change? He says, I learned how to move into my videos.
Those visualization videos, like it became one and the same.
Yeah. And then you step out and now you feel game ready. And every time I give it, it's interesting. I'm just connected so energetically with my client that we're both feeling it. It's amazing. And, even though that's the system I use, it goes wherever it needs to go in that moment. I'm just being inspired and I'm right with them. I mean, you can feel that. I mean, I know I'm getting a little biblical on this.
Oh, no, you know what? As you were taking me through, and I've heard you do this, obviously, and you've done this with me, I was right there again. I'm like thinking about the next thing. So super amazing. This is simplification that allows for amplification. It is so good, everybody. So please go to the show notes, make sure you get this process down. But I want to say, Dave, you are so generously offering to everyone that they are going to be able to get something very special from you. Can you explain what you're doing for our listeners?
Well, I know we talked about it. I said, why not? The Moonshots hasn't come out yet. It will be coming out, but why not get a peek preview? I was given all the episodes. So I have them. I've given you the link. And we talked about it and went, because I had an NFL quarterback that I work with that goes, every kid, and you went, every business leader needs to see this, right? I said, let's do it. I don't think it takes away from anything. And I've already checked. I got total clearance on it being able to do this. So yes, you can give them the link. There are 10 episodes of these moonshot experiences,
which are super short. They're all under 10 minutes. So they're like
about 12 minutes.
Yeah, I binge watched it. I was like, oh my gosh, I thought, I'll watch, a couple tonight. And then I'm like, no, I'm all in. So I think that this is so incredibly generous of you to give to people the ability to watch this, not have to wait, and be able to hear more of these stories, hear more about the animals. How good are those? Like LazPro, you're going to hear more of the story behind it. Each episode that you did, you incorporated it with an animal.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to give it to you because I'll be honest with you. I love what you're doing. I think you're having a major impact on others. And I'm driven to help those that are helping others. I mean, that's just my mission. And so when I see your smile, your total passion for helping others, man, you just asked me, what can I, you've got me totally all in. So I want to give that. And I hope it does motivate others to see what are their moonshots they can step into. And, we talked about it before, the books I've written, but your relaunch, it's so fun to have alignment with similar type information, but it comes from your own uniqueness, comes from my own uniqueness. And all it does is amplify everything that we're doing.
Dave, we have to wrap up. This has been so awesome. Everyone, please make sure you look at the show notes, take advantage of this amazing offer, and we will look forward to seeing you next week. Live now, love now, relaunch now.